The role of women in the Middle Ages were as a wife, peasant, artisan, and nun. Also, some important leadership roles such as abbess or queen, regnant. The women of the Middle Ages were totally dominated by the male members of their family. The women were expected to instantly obey not only their father but also their brothers and any other male members of the family. Any unruly girls were beaten into submission, and disobedience was seen as a crime against religion. Also, they were largely confined to household tasks such as cooking, baking bread, sewing, weaving, and spinning. However, they also hunted for food and fought in battles, learning to use weapons to defend their homes and castles. Some medieval women held other occupations. There were women blacksmiths, merchants, and apothecaries. Others were midwives, worked in fields, or were engaged in creative endeavors such as writing, playing musical instruments, dancing, and painting. Peasants worked the land and produced the goods that the lord and his manor needed. This exchange was not without hardship for the serfs. They were heavily taxed and were required to relinquish much of what they have harvested. The peasants did not even belong to themselves, according to medieval law. The lords, in close association with the church, assumed the roles of judges in carrying out the laws of the man. The women in the Middle Ages wore woolen clothing with undergarments made of linen. Bright colors and longer jackets were usually signs of greater wealth. Women wore flowing gowns and elaborate headwear ranging from headdresses shaped like hearts or butterflies to tall steeple caps and Italian turbans. Also, women who wore long gowns with sleeveless tunics and wimples to cover their hair. Sheepskin cloaks and woolen hats and mittens were worn in the winter for protection from the cold and rain. Sometimes clothes were garnished with silver, but only the wealthy could wear this. The marriage in the Middle Ages is they were married to men that they had hardly knew. The father would pick the man that they wanted their daughter to marry. However, men sometimes were able to choose their bride. Husbands and wives usually didn't know each other. They didn't meet until the day of the wedding. When people were to get married, they were at young ages. The women were as young as 12 years old and the men were as young as 17. When they got married, they now under the control of the husband. Now the husband could take full control of the women. The church ceremony in the Middle Ages took place outside the church door before entering for a nuptial mass. During the ceremony in front of the church doors, the man stood on the right side and the woman stood on the left side, facing the door of the church. This was because the female was formed out of the rib in the left side of Adam by God. The priest begins by asking if anyone present knows of any reason why that couple should not be married. The priest also then asks the bride and the groom so they may confess any reason for prohibiting their marriage. Women in the Middle Ages are different due to not being able to marry without their parents' consent. Also, they couldn't own any businesses with special permission. They were not allowed to divorce their husbands and could not own property of any kind unless they were widows. Also, they couldn't inherit any land from their parents if they had any surviving brothers. Today, women are able to have anything that they please and can afford without any consent. Women are able to marry any man that is best for them. The men are not in charge of the women and don't have any rights to them. Any woman is allowed to divorce their husbands.